Future Dana here. We're trying to reach 10,000 subscribers, and you can help us out by sharing the channel and clicking the subscribe button. And when we reach 10,000, we're going to do a giveaway. So if you want to know what that's about, help us out. Hi, Dana here. Welcome to Sew Learn Create. I'm glad you joined us today. And if you like what we do, be sure you subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss any of the videos that we do. If you want to support us in other ways, we do have a Patreon page with multiple tiers, and we also have sewing kits on my Etsy shop for most of the tutorials on the channel. Today, are you looking for ways to inspire the people in your life? If so, have we got a project for you? It's called the Inspiration Heart. So, let's get started. For today's project, the Heart of Inspiration, you're going to need the following supplies. First, you're going to need some fabric to either cut your heart shape out, and I'm going to do mine with two different fabrics. You could use the same fabric. I also bought my hearts in a pack pre-cut, and they came from Keepsake Quilting, and I'll try to find a link for that in the description. But you can also just cut your heart out, and I'll have a pattern for the heart shape in the description also. So you'll need 2 pieces of fabric for your heart. You're also going to need a bead, a small bead for just right above here, and that's just to add a little bit of a design element. You wouldn't have to put the bead, but I think it kind of it anchors it to me, so it looks cute. Then you're also going to need something to do your hanger with, and I'm just using like baker's twine that I got at Dollar Tree. And then also you're going to need some kind of saying or inspirational quote or something to stitch onto your heart. And I am using, going to use the Always Follow Your Heart stamp that I got at Dollar Tree. And they have, a lot of times Dollar Tree has some really cute stamps that are small in scale, but also have some really nice sayings. So this one has a lot. I like this one. I use the Dream a lot and Find Your Way. Enjoy the little things. Amazing. Enjoy Life would be in the right scale. These Beautiful and Have a Nice Day would probably be too long for the heart unless you wanted to make it larger. And then I also found this one recently with just a lot of different sayings. Then to stamp your image, you're going to use a regular craft stamp. You can stamp it with just any kind of stamp pad. Doesn't really matter. You can use a permanent one, but it doesn't have to be. You can stamp it with the regular, and then you just iron it to heat set it. So I'm going to use just a regular black ink and Always Follow Your Heart. And if you're only making one of these or a couple of them, you can cut your fabric just a little bit larger than what you want it to be. And then I'm going to use this brick to give me some support underneath. And stamp my image. And then also, if you're going to make a lot of them, if you're going to do them as a gift for a group of people, then a lot of times what I will do is take a long strip of fabric, cut it kind of close to the size that I want it to be, and I will stamp one in the middle, and then I'll move it down, just leaving a little bit of space in between, and stamp my next one. And that way you can kind of just assembly line all of your stamped pieces. Then the only other thing you need to do for your stamped image before you continue to sew it is just take your iron, and I always like to put a piece of fabric over it just so I don't get that ink on my iron, and just heat set it. Your iron needs to be at the cotton level, so it's the hot, very, very hot. And that way it's, if you washed it, over time, if you washed it a lot, it would wash completely out. But if you just wash it a couple of times, if it gets dirty, then that will remain intact. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 2 pieces of fabric and we're going to put them right side to right side. And we're going to clip those. And we're going to leave a small opening on one of the longer sides to turn it, not down here or up on the curve because it's harder. So I'm going to use my red and green clip method. We're going to start stitching at the green, go all the way and stop at the red. And that red and green just kind of helps me remember where to start and where to stop. So we're going to go to the machine and we'll stitch all the way around and then we'll come back and continue on. We're going to stitch all the way around. We're going to start here at our green and we are going to use our full seam allowance. So I'm going to line everything up with the outside edge of my foot as my seam allowance guide. When I get to the point, I'm going to leave my needle down, lift my presser foot, rotate my project, and keep going. And when you get to these curves, you can just stitch a little bit, put your needle down, lift your presser foot, and just kind of ease around those curves. Then when I get to the point of my, the dip down in my heart, I want to make sure I leave my needle down, lift my presser foot, and rotate so that I have that nice crisp point when we get to turning this the right way. And then we're almost back to our red clip, so I'm going to take it off and put my finger there to remind me where to stop. One last adjustment. And I'm going to back stitch right there. So now we're stitched all the way around. We'll go back to the mat. Now we've stitched all the way around it, and I like to turn my project over anytime I stitch and make sure I've caught everything the right way. Then before we turn this the right side out, we need to do a little bit of prepping so that these curves will turn out more rounded and have a little bit of ease. So the first thing we're going to do is clip right here at the point, and I want to clip pretty deep on that. I just don't want to cut my stitching. And that way, when I turn this, it'll ease that heart and make that point come out nice. Then I'm going to clip just little snips all the way around the curved edge. And I'm going to do that on both sides. And I'm just clipping about every 1/4 of an inch, making sure that I don't cut that stitching. Then we're going to turn it right side out. And I made that opening a little small, so. And when I started my stitching, I started a little too close to this bottom point, so I had to really kind of work at getting that point to come out. So just a note that when you start your stitching, you might want to start it a little bit higher up so that you don't have to struggle as hard to get that point. Because when I iron this, I want to make sure that those edges turn in and that it creates that bottom point. And you want to iron it flat, making sure that this fabric turns in so when we top stitch it, it will close that opening. So we'll go back to the machine and we'll top stitch, then we'll also, when we top stitch, we'll add our saying to it. So as you can see, my fabric right now is a little too big. So I need to trim that down, and I trim mine by folding it in half so I can see all my saying, and I just trim it by hand. As this project is designed to be a little rough around the edges, if you will, because we're doing a raw edge applique of this saying. So that looks good. I'm going to trim the ends just a little bit. There we go. So when we go to the machine, we're going to stitch our saying down first and then top stitch all the way around our heart. So I am going to pin that saying in place, and we're going to stitch through all the layers, and that kind of secures our front layer with our back layer. So let's go to the machine. Now we're going to secure our fabric piece here, and we're going to start at the bottom, and I want to do a really narrow seam. So I'm going to put my needle down, and we're probably going to go around this at least 2 times. And the reason I go around 2 times is it gives it more of a sketched look, if you will, and it looks a little bit more like if you don't have to match those lines, and it just gives it a little bit more of a design flair. So I'm going to keep that really narrow to the edge. Then I'm going to go around a second time, and I'm not going to worry about staying right on that stitching line. And then when I come back around, I'm going to back stitch to lock all those stitches in place. And that way it looks like you intentionally went around that like with a pen, and we're just kind of emphasizing it, and you don't have to worry about your stitch line being so accurate around your saying. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to top stitch this all the way around, closing this opening right here. And because I started so close to my point, I don't want to start my stitching at that point. It's harder for you and the machine. So I'm going to start just a little bit above that. I'm going to use the inside edge of my foot as my guide. And when I get back around, I'm going to cross that stitching and back stitch to lock it all in place. Now we'll go back to the mat and add our hanger. Once I finish stitching, I always like to take the iron and iron my project one additional time. Now to add our hanger, you'll need 8 inches or approximately 8 inches of your twine and a large eye needle so that the twine will go through it. And then we're going to start, and we're just going to, right here at the point, pretty close to the edge, we're going to pull our twine and then make sure that we pull one side out to the front and one to the back. guess I could have left the needle on to thread the bead. And then I'm going to put my bead on through both sides of my twine. And I'm going to tie a knot right here above my bead so my bead doesn't slide up and down. And I want that knot pretty close to the top of my bead, so I just do the best I can. And that keeps my bead kind of in one place to where it doesn't move all the way up my hanger. And then I just tie a knot at the very top. And I put that one pretty close to the top edge of my string. And now I have my hanger. And our project is complete. If you wanted to make this for people to hang on their rear view mirror, then you would need to make that twine just a little bit longer. So, I hope you liked today's project. I hope you liked today's project, the Inspiration Heart. And if you have other ways that you inspire the people in your life with little things, leave a comment below and share with the community. So, see you in the next one.